Welcome back to the Elli-Yacht. Today we're going to review the marriage saver, the communication devices, so that when you're not in line of sight with each other, or you're in an area that your voice doesn't travel, or if it is travel, you're going to be yelling at each other. Never a good idea.
No.
Doesn't look very professional with everybody else on the dock. And, you know, honestly, accidents can happen that way. So being able to speak calmly in a regular voice is what these devices that we're going to review today are all about. And the reason we did this is there's a couple main options that are out on the market, but we never could find anything that really compared the two of them. Good reviews individually, but what's the comparison between the two? So we'll be talking about these two options that we have. But let's start with the one, you know, hey, why can't we just use, you know, my phone and you know, your ear pods and be able to communicate with each other? A couple of reasons that we're just not even going to kind of go into that. One is that if you don't have cell range, which when you're boating sometimes that's an issue, they can be spotty. That doesn't help anything. The other one is these fall overboard pretty easily. They are, yeah, they're hydromagnetic, and then invariably somebody calls you when you're docking the boat.
Always.
Just. I don't recommend, we're not going to go into the phones, we're not going to recommend that, so we're going to focus specifically on these two options. One of them is the Eartec Ultralight, okay? And then the other one is the Sena Mesh. So the areas that we're going to focus on today are the design and comfort of each one of these. We will go into the communication range and how well they perform, what we've seen as we've worked with these. The battery life is another one. There's a pretty good difference between the two of those. The connectivity and the features that each one of them have, because they actually differ a bit. And then the ease of use, because when you take all those things to an account, it really is a different experience. There's no question about it. We will talk also about the accessories that come with each of these devices. And last, the price and value. And then we'll just do a quick conclusion as to which one we've chosen on the Elli-Yacht to use.
Welcome back.
Let's get to it. All right, starting off with design and comfort. And honestly, we put this first because this has been one of the biggest problems for us for two reasons. One, when Carlin puts hers on, her head is smaller.
It's a little bit smaller, so we had to add extra pad, and I always have to wear a hat just to make things fit a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just still kind of loose.
Yeah. Now the cool part is on this one, it has one ear that's open, so you can hear somebody that's on the dock, and you can hear the other person talking to you. I like that. But to Carlin's point, the one thing I don't like about them is from a fit standpoint is if you lean over the side of
pulling fenders.
Yeah, pulling
Sometimes
fenders.
it wants to slip, and that can be dangerous.
Yeah, there's been multiple times where we've almost caught these from falling in the drink. That kind of undermines, I think, a lot of the functionality. That's what brought us to these Senas. If you look at these, when you lean over, they're across the back of your neck. You can wear a hat. It's unobstructed, so you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about them falling off your head, because on a boat everything seems to be hydromagnetic. So you know, these work out a lot better that way. The downside is you do have both sides of your ears that are covered, so hearing somebody on the dock can be a little bit more of a challenge.
Yeah.
It's not a game changer, but it is something that you do have. You can have two people basically talking in your ear, the person that's on the other end of that and a person on the dock. So that's something to keep in mind if that's important to you. So communication range. Between the two of these ultralights, we've never had a problem with these cutting out until we get out where maybe we're dropping the hook and we have Carlin that's in the dinghy and you know, I'm in the boat. We're setting up a stern tie. They will drop out. The range really that we found is probably 150 feet, and then they start dropping out.
Yeah.
These Senas are made to be used in a lot of activities, like motorcyclists love these things because they have a great deal of range. So they are, they're much longer. They're in the 1,000-foot area that these things can communicate with each other, and they are the latest Bluetooth in communication. So you definitely got a lot more range, performance within this range, though. So this is interesting with these ultralights. This boom, it's actually very sensitive. If anything, you have to kind of keep it away from your mouth, because if it's too close on your mouth, it hurts the other person's ears.
It does have the option where you can pull this up and it'll stop the communication. So if you're talking to someone on the dock, and then you're not yelling in your partner's ear.
Yeah. You just have to remember to flip it down. But I think that's a cool feature. It does not exist on the Senas here. And in fact, with these on, and we'll talk more about this in usability, but you really have to turn up the Vox, they call it, on it, where basically your voice, as you talk, it triggers the microphone. So it's muted all the time until you talk, and then it turns it on. But you have to really turn up the sensitivity on it and have it closer to your mouth, because what we found is when you say the first word to each other, it gets cut off, because it's having to trigger the microphone and turning it on. And that was a real, to begin with, I was a little worried that these weren't going to work as a solution because of that. But we were able to turn that up in the application and solve that problem. But that was something that, right out of the box, the ultralights do a better job than the Senas, I would say. Battery life. This is important because we have come to the dock before on these Eartecs. And the way they work are interesting, and it's kind of an easy use thing we'll talk about as well. This one is clearly marked as the main. It has an on-off switch on it. The battery goes in here. This one is a slave, and you can have multiple slaves, but it doesn't have an on-off button.
Yeah, you have to push this button, and then sometimes it goes off, sometimes it doesn't, and so you're trying to figure out, is it actually off?
Yeah.
And I've struggled with that a little bit on this one.
So the workaround is we always open up the battery compartment, pull the battery out, so we know it's not discharging. But when we forgot about that, you end up with a reality that you can have dead headsets and you're coming into the dock, and that's very frustrating. It does have these external batteries that we were showing where those slots go. We ended up buying a separate set of these batteries just in case we had dead batteries. We were ready to be able to slap some new ones in. But that creates an extra charge and something else you just have to be keeping track of. These last for 3 to 5 hours, they say. I think that's a stretch, but that's that area. These, on battery life, last twice as long. They're up into the 6 to 10 hour range. So they have much better battery life. And when you charge them, they just have a USB connector on them, which is much easier. It's the same USB connector that is now standard for iPhones, etc. So that's super easy. It's not the old USB charger one on these mesh ones. So these definitely win on battery life. The next one is ease of use. Now, one would think that these might be easier to use, but in reality, because these Eartecs have a main, and then they have a bunch of slaves, it's super easy because they instantly connect themselves. We've never really had any problem with connecting these to one another. That's never been an issue for us. Everything that you need to use to connect them, like if there ever was an issue, like Carlin said, there is this pairing button over on the side that connects to the master. So as far as this ease of use side, to begin with, these actually are very simple. And like Carlin said, it has this, you just flip up the boom, and when you flip that boom up, it mutes it, and you can bring it back down. You have to remember to do that, because sometimes you'll start talking to another person, and they'll be flipped up, and you won't remember that. But as far as the ease of use, technically, these are pretty simple, which brings us to the Sena Mesh. These things can connect up to 25 users. I mean, they really have a lot of functionality that's associated with them. However, they almost have too much functionality. And what I mean by that is you have to connect them to your phone, because you can adjust these things with an app on your phone. So like I was saying, with the sensitivity of the boom, that's adjusted. Being able to say that you're going to use them in a mesh mode where you're going to be able to speak with each other, you have to activate it in that. There's just a lot of things in the app that need to be set up. The other one is because they are connected to your phone, they do have functionality to play music and take a phone call with them as well. I don't like that. It's just like I said with the telephone. I don't want to take a phone call when I'm undocking the boat.
Right.
I don't want something to ring. That's annoying. I don't want music playing. That's not what I'm using these for. So because they have those features, which I totally get. If you're out on a motorcycle and you're rarely communicating, you want to have some music and stuff on your ears, that makes sense. But I would say for boating, it is not a feature I'm super excited about. And because of all the adjustability, it is just fussier to have to set them up. The other one is putting them into mesh mode, which basically connects them to each other. To begin with, the instructions aren't that
intuitive?
Yeah, or clear. So, you have to go through, you've got to, once you turn them on, you have to hit the mesh mode. There's an M on this thing. After you do that, you have to hit the other one to get into the mesh mode. Both of them have to be configured on your phone that they can go into the mesh mode. You have to put what channel they're on because they have multiple channels. So getting them set up the first time can be frustrating.
Yeah, it was a little fussy.
Yeah. It was a little touch and go to begin with. It's like, are these going to work? Or does this really fit the bill? Or is this just going to be just too many options, I guess? But once we have them set up, they're fairly simple, and we haven't had any issues after that. But I do want to call that out, because that's one of those things, if you're just looking for something you can pick up and put on, you don't want to put apps on your phone, etc. It's definitely a big difference between the two of these. So accessories, let's get to that. Let's just start with the Sena on accessories. It comes with a couple sets of the boom, the wind guards, which is nice. It comes with a couple sets of the ear guards as well, because these will degrade over time. So it's nice to be able to have an extra set to be able to do that with. But that's all they come with. Now the Eartec, on the flip side, is kind of interesting. It doesn't come with spare wind guards or these earmuffs. And the earmuffs, if you can see this, we've had these for probably
about 4 years.
4 years. And they've started coming apart. You can get new ones or replacement ones on Amazon. They range different brands you can replace them with. But they're going to be $20, $30 is kind of what some of the prices that I saw on that. So that's something that these don't come with on accessories.
Yep.
I will say the Eartec does come with a bag, which is kind of nice. You just throw them in there. Put them in your safety locker or wherever you keep these. That is kind of nice. These do not come with a carrying case. So we'll have to kind of source a bag to put these in so we can just grab the set every time. So that's kind of the accessory side of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of simple.
Yeah. So, price and value. All right now, the prices vary on these things. I always... they tend to go up and down, so I always get a little cautious of saying prices on the video. We'll put a link down below into Amazon where you can get these. Right now, as of today, I think they were $385. I've seen them go up to $400. I've seen them go on sale a little bit as well. But for two of them, you're in that range of $385 to $400. These, the Senas, they are sold individually. Again, these will bounce around on sale, but generally speaking, these are $200 each. So you're talking another $15 to $20 for the Senas versus these. But then again, I go back to, then I have to go buy an extra set of batteries for the Eartecs. Well, that starts racking up a little bit more. If the muffs go bad or the wind guard goes bad, I have to go buy new ones of those as well. So the price probably comes out in the wash of some of the things you get, although on the other side we have to go buy a bag for these. In the end, the Senas, they're just more expensive. The value, this is tricky. It's gonna, I think, could be a personal one.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to use these for other things, like, you know, you maybe you do go out in groups, or even, you know, you do a dual ride with somebody on your motorcycle. These are going to be great. You can use them dual purpose.
If you're with another boater, even.
Yeah, yeah. But these, you know, they're single use. So it really kind of depends what you're after on them, and really the price difference isn't that great. But I would say you definitely get a lot more functionality out of the Senas. You know, they have greater expandability, the battery life is longer, you don't have to buy all those extra things. Yeah, so it kind of switches this into our conclusion. So to begin with, when we bought both of these, to begin with, we were pretty happy with these until we tried to lean over and grab a fender and
dropped it in the water.
Drop them in the water.
So this one is definitely more comfortable for me.
Yeah, yeah, and you can bend over and not have to worry about anything going sideways. The setup, like we said in recap, was definitely fussier with these, but once we had them set up, I'm pretty pleased with what we're seeing here. So on the Elli-Yacht, well, I'll just put it this way. We're going to get new ear pads for these, and we're going to put them out on eBay. We're going to sell these because although they got us down the road for a couple of years, and definitely any solution is going to provide more value than no solution. I think these Senas are going to be way better just for the kind of how you use these communication devices on a boat specifically.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully that was useful for you. Peace.